What's happening, team players? My name is Vish. Welcome back to the channel. Just my match reaction to Arsenal versus Liverpool in the Premier League at the Emirates Stadium that happened tonight. It ended 0-0. Both teams just couldn't get a goal. It was very, what I say? It wasn't even. Liverpool didn't have firepower at the front. We had very good chances. There was either no one in the box when Saka was putting in the ball. Saka was playing incredible in that first half today. He was making it a nightmare for the defenders. And when he was going right to the goal and then sort of dragging it back or dragging it across the box, there just wasn't anyone there, which was really, really frustrating. I don't think, in my opinion, we were taking enough shots. I don't think we were taking gambles, which sometimes in the big games you kind of have to. And this game clearly proved that they had to, because nothing much was sort of building up. Nothing else was sort of coming together. They had possession during the first half, a lot more than Liverpool did. And you could just tell that Liverpool were just, they couldn't sort of keep up with it. Arsenal were causing a nightmare in the first half, but then it completely flipped in the second half, where Liverpool had a lot more of the possession. They were more of a threat. They had a couple of free kicks where Szoboszlai, had the chances, especially the first one was so similar to the game at Anfield, where he scored that free kick, but luckily he skied it well wide. And then the second free kick he had was closer to the box, but hit the roof of the net. Luckily went over. So first half I would say was all Arsenal. Second half was all Liverpool. There were chances in both halves, but I don't think either team was sort of risking to try and get a goal and just try and shoot from anywhere. They looked like they just wanted to pass it into the box and have a tap in into the goal, which was quite frustrating, because although, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. We got a point out of it. It was better than getting no points and losing the game. So I'll take it. But it's just frustrating watching the game, knowing that we could have got 3 points. We could have actually scored a goal or 2 or 3. Even though we made changes in the second half, which made such a good positive change for a little bit, where you had Gabriel Jesus and Martinelli, that were the first two to come on. Then you had Madueke and Eze come on, which I think them two probably should have come on a bit earlier, in my opinion. But, don't get me wrong, they made impact, but not as soon as we wanted it, not as often as we wanted it. Martinelli was making some really good ones on the left. Madueke was doing exactly the same on the right. Gabriel Jesus, since he's come back, making it a nightmare in the middle. There was a bit of showboating that he did as well, with a few keepy-ups, which was pretty cool. Martinelli, nutmegged a few players, which was pretty cool again. But again, there was just no final product, and it was just very frustrating to watch. So it ended 0-0. There was a bit of drama at the end, where there was an injury to the Liverpool player. And then Martinelli sort of pushed him off the pitch, because you could sort of see he was edging himself back on the pitch, which of course will cause a delay, because this was sort of towards the end of the match. And that caused obviously a bit of a stir, a lot of pushes going on, a lot of shoving towards the players. What really annoyed me about all that was Gary Neville. Now, what he was saying was not cool, because you could clearly see that although I generally can't even remember the player that got injured, but you could clearly see he was on the touchline, and you could see he was edging himself back on the pitch, which, if you're on the touchline and you're injured that bad and you're hurt that bad, why don't you just make yourself off the pitch? You're well out the way of everything. Job's a good one. Obviously, Martinelli was frustrated. He was very annoyed. It's getting close to a full-time whistle. He just shoved him off the pitch, and then, of course, that, you know, roused up everyone else. But Gary Neville was then, like, calling Martinelli an idiot. He was saying he wanted to hit him. And I was like, hang on a minute. You're a commentator. You shouldn't really be saying stuff like that, because I swear if that was anyone else, they'd be sort of getting punished for it the next day or whatever like that. And it's not as if Gary Neville was exactly the calmest defender or player in general back in the day when he was playing. So that kind of annoyed me a little bit, some of the comments he was making, because there's no need for him to be saying that sort of stuff. I get that what Martinelli, he probably shouldn't have shoved him off like the way he did and all the rest of it, but Gary Neville shouldn't be saying that sort of stuff. So I don't care what big of a name Gary Neville is and, you know, all this sort of stuff about him. You shouldn't be saying stuff like that. If you're commentating on a game or, you know, you're a broadcaster or whatever like that, you should not be saying stuff like that about a player. Calling them an idiot, saying you want to hit him, that's just bang out of order. If you want to say it on a podcast or whatever like that, do your thing. But saying it as a commentator on a game, nah, that really, really annoyed me. There was no need for that. I get, like I said, Martinelli probably shouldn't have pushed him off the pitch, but then at the same time, the player was edging himself back on. Shouldn't have done that either. So probably wrongs in both of the teams, but at the same time, yeah, Gary Neville, bang out of order. Shouldn't have been doing that. But that's just my opinion. So, but there we go. That was that. That was my match reaction to Arsenal versus Liverpool. As always, comment down below, let me know what your thoughts were, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. If you do like this content that I've been doing recently, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you can. It would really help me out if you guys can do that. And of course, comment, let me know what your thoughts were on the game. Do you think Arsenal should have won? Do you think Liverpool should have won? Do you think a draw was the right outcome for the game? And, you know, what do we think is going to be happening next? We've got FA Cup, we've got the Carabao Cup next. So yeah, it should be very, very interesting. But for now, Arsenal 6 points ahead from Manchester City in first and second. So we'll take it. We'll take it and we'll see what goes on from here. But guys, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it as always. And once again, I'll catch you on the next one.